Kelly, thank you so much for joining me today. You have no idea. I am so excited. You are such a really interesting, you know, I'm sorry. I just really am excited.
It's awesome to be with you too, Kim. Thank you for having me.
I don't know. I guess I'm deprived in chatting with people about dreams and stuff. You really have no idea. In my inner circle, I just really have not run into that many people. And so I've been sort of this dream orphan for
my
years.
God. Well, come home, get a hug. We've been waiting for you. Yeah. Well, maybe that's going to change. Maybe you'll bring dreams to your community. And little by little, I think people get inspired when they hear the conversations, because they realize, wait a minute, I'm having dreams. And they start realizing that they're dreaming. And when they start hearing about people whose lives change and who get healthy and wealthy and all kinds of things because of their dreams, then they start wanting some.
Yes.
So I like the 12-step approach where they say it's attraction, not promotion. So we don't have to like promote it and like shove it down everyone's throat and make it a have to. It's more like you're in the secret cool club if you're paying attention to dreams, and maybe we'll let you in, maybe we won't. I don't know. We have to check and see how good your dreams are.
Well, that's a good way to look at it.
I'm being a little silly.
Yes. But at the same time, I mean, it's really, they're missing out that, it's another part of our soul that is very active. And so I was interested to hear your sweet story about your early dream experiences with your sister.
Oh, yeah. I feel so, I talk to my sister regularly. I mean, we just were texting this morning, and it's been, how old are we? We're getting up there in age, but but because of those early years sharing dreams, and we still share them from time to time, it really established this little bubble around each other, so that it's like we were in the club. We were in the club of recognizing metaphysical realities. We got to share. We had a phenomenon, and we still do every once in a while, called tandem dreaming, where we end up in the same dream, or we have similar dream characters or similar dream themes that are happening on the same night. And it's uncanny because there's so many variables and so many variations and so many different things that can happen in a dream. And when you share a dream or something similar with somebody, it's really special. So these dreams that we would have, starting as young as 5 years old, I'm a year and a half younger than her, so she'd be 3. And then I remember specifically being 7 years old and being at home and eating cereal before school in the morning and talking about dreams and having this, oh my God, you saw that same man, the guy with the hat and the pointy nose, and oh my God. And, so it just made it interesting. And both of us said that we helped each other feel sane back then, because no one else would really get it. People would look at us like we were crazy, because we'd be like giggling and smiling when there's nothing going on, because we had an inner secret, this like inner aliveness that made life magical. And we didn't need all the gadgets and the electronics. And lucky for us, they didn't exist way back in the olden days, in the horse and buggy days, but we didn't need them. We had our imagination and our ability to see beyond the ordinary. And it continues to this day.
That's really sweet. When you were little, did you imagine any explanation for why that was happening with the two of you?
A little bit. I remember being at the grocery store with my mom and seeing the little Dream Dictionary, teeny little magazines, like the really skinny ones. And we would have our mom buy every one that we saw, or every time there was a new one. So we would look up dream symbols to try to figure out what those things meant. We didn't necessarily know off the bat what our dream was telling us, like what it was related to, but the Dream Dictionaries actually were a great way to get our feet wet in terms of thinking symbolically, like, oh, if a door closes and a window opens, then that means the obvious thing isn't working, but something else will. Or, if you're you're so hungry you can eat a horse. If you dream about a horse that's eating, it's like, well, you're hungry for something. I don't know. There's so many, it just got us kind of thinking about symbols in that way. So I wrote a dream dictionary. My first dream book was a dream dictionary. And a lot of people are like, how dare you write a dream dictionary and assume that anybody is the authority of anyone's dreams? And I say, wait a minute, I put a disclaimer up in the front of the book that the best dream dictionary you'll ever have is your own journal, is your own reference point. But if you're like most people who look at their dreams and think this makes no sense, then before you throw it away, take a look at what the symbols might mean in a dream dictionary that's based on the ways that we see things in common. Like all of us humans, when it's a sunny day, we all interpret that symbol as being like it's a smiley, happy thing. It's like, oh, things are looking up. Things are bright. Look on the bright side. It's a sunny thing. If it's raining, we all kind of interpret that in some way as it's melancholy, it's sad, or except in California where we have a drought and we really appreciate the rain. But we humans see things symbolically. And when we get the jump start by looking in a dream dictionary to look at what our dream symbols might mean, it can start to trigger our own intuition, which is always the best gauge of what our dreams mean.
Exactly. And it's interesting, after you've written them down or you share them with someone, then possibly a new idea will pop in your head of, oh, I didn't look at it that way.
Always. It blows my mind because I think I know a lot about dreams at this point in my career, but every time I have a dream circle or I share a dream with someone, my husband or a friend or a colleague, it always blows my mind that they see something that I didn't see or that wouldn't have occurred to me. I believe that every dream is a diamond and there are multi-facets to every dream. There's not just one interpretation of any dream. And the one that the dreamer might see is just one facet, but somebody that's reflecting that dream back is going to see something completely different. And it helps. And that's why I love dream groups and a community of dreamers, because by the time any dream has been looked at by a handful of people, by the end of that conversation, it's such a gift because you feel like you've really gotten the wisdom of the dream. So let me ask you a question, if I may.
Sure.
If you're in a little, like you're the dream orphan out there, what do you do with your dreams? Who do you share your dreams with? And what do you do?
Well, I write them down.
Right.
For one thing, and I've kept journals forever. But primarily, I've been looking for ones that will end up coming true. And I've had quite a lot of that. And so that's been really interesting. And oddly enough, they have, been, the timing of them has been so far ahead of the actual event.
Like how far?
Well, as far ahead as 17 years.
Okay, but in dreams, that's okay. Yeah.
Well, that's what the discovery of that triggered my writing my book in 2015, because it just was such a shock that I could dream that far ahead and have something happen with a quote of something someone said and a witness. It was just blew my mind.
Have you already talked about this on your podcast, or would you be willing to talk about it now and say a little bit of what it is if it's not something that you've already done?
Well, I've talked about it a little bit. It's basically the opening of my book, because it is what got me to write the book. But that, was like, well, if this isn't proof that dreams are not just a product of our brain activity, I don't know what is.
Okay, so what happened? I'm so curious.
Well, it was just sort of an odd string of seemingly minor events, but when, they were just strung together in time, and that I had written it all down, including a drawing of a part of a location. So what it was, and it involved the discovery of it as well. But basically, a friend of mine was staying with me. She was going through a divorce, and was staying with me for a few nights a week, and
in real life.
And so she just randomly suggested that one day she had met Tyler Henry's mother while she was out in LA with a friend.
Who's Tyler Henry?
Tyler Henry, he had a TV show last year, The Hollywood Medium. He's like this young 20-year-old guy. And she had met his mother. And for some reason, this sparked her to tell me, you've got to check out his website. And I was like, what? So I did. And there wasn't anything there that jumped out at me other than he listed he was mentored by Lisa Williams. And so I checked her out, and in checking her out, her part of her bio just sounded so much like mine as a child that I would hear footsteps going around my bed at night. I would hear the kitchen table being set in the middle of the night after everyone had been to bed. So it just sort of sparked something in me that, like, wow, there's someone else that's, had some similar stuff. And it caused me to go in the garage and unpack some boxes that had been there for years. All of my dream journals. I had stopped dream journaling in 2002 after my divorce. And anyway, I was going through these looking for, some psychic books that I had packed away, and found the journals. There was more than 14 of them. And I got to journal number 11. And on the first page from 17 years ago was a dream about this woman who was staying in my house, her physical description, her occupation, and a specific interest that her son had with acting. And then there was another part of it that I didn't understand. There was a drawing of a place with like a gate with crossbars, and people standing behind it had their photo taken, and their feet were showing at the bottom. And I made a note of, I didn't like how their feet were showing at the bottom for some reason. And this was, very odd, because although I've been a photographer for the last 12 years, at that point, it hadn't even entered my mind to become a photographer. And anyway, so the dream involved, this location being a photograph that was being shown to me. And so I called my friend and I showed her the part that I knew was about her, but then I showed her this drawing and it made no sense at all to either of us. And so I was just ready to just brush it off. Well, that part doesn't fit. So, that's junk, whatever.
Right.
And the next week she was having a shoot at a remodel in La Jolla and invited me to come check it out. She was having a model lifestyle shoot there for the contractor. And so I went, and she was giving me a tour of the house. We go upstairs to the master bedroom, and there's a balcony off the master bedroom with this beautiful white railing with crossbars. And it strikes me that it looks very similar to my drawing. And while I'm standing there, full body chills, like, oh my God, this is that drawing. And she is like 6 feet away from me, photographing the master bedroom. And she's complaining, I'm having a really hard time photographing the fireplace that had a glass door on it. And she said, I don't like how my feet are showing at the bottom. And I was like, what? No, like 17 years. So anyway, it was like,
wow,
holy cow. 17 years.
So what anyway, did you do with that?
So I was like, I spent 3 days going through every single journal, and I found more and more dreams that came true that I had no idea, including the fact that I dreamed, I guess it was probably 14 years before it happened, but I didn't find out, till 17 years, that my next door neighbor bought their middle child a red Volkswagen Beetle. and it's been sitting out in front of my house for the last 3 years. And I dreamed that. And so, I mean, they're not anything that, is going to help someone or, but it's evidential that, well, what are the odds of that? And
yes, exactly.
So, yeah, another one. Well, I mean, this is supposed to be about you.
It's about us. It's our dream. But, we can have this, but I think it's fascinating to hear how this. Okay, let's hear the other one.
Oh, well, this is one that I found that when I share it with kids, they love it. But I had lived in Okinawa with my husband and kids for about 3 years, and Okinawa is full of bats. They're everywhere. And this one day, I was walking home at night, and I walked under a branch, and a bat bounced off of my head.
Wow.
And that night, I dreamed that I woke up in the morning and opened the front door, and stuck on the inside of the screen door was a baby bat. So this was a dream. So I wrote it down. 3 years later, we moved back to San Diego, and one morning I go downstairs to the kitchen, and stuck on the inside of the screen door is a baby bat.
In San Diego.
Yes. And I've never seen a bat again. So, well,
what does a bat mean to you? What's a bat represent?
Well, I think they're adorable. They're like I love all animals. So they're like little flying foxes. They don't scare me other than, having it bounce off your head at night. That'll startle anybody, even if you love them. But I just, I don't know. So part of me, I had a connection with a bat, and then maybe my consciousness went out and searched other bat experiences or invited another bat. I really don't know the mechanism at play there, but
well, I think one thing that you said, that your dreams didn't have obvious value, like it didn't change your life or heal a life. It was more just validating. But I think that that might be one layer of it. Like it wasn't obvious, but I think that under it, there's more subtle layers. Like why those things, why that? I don't think it's random. And if it were my dream, the one about the bat, and this is just kind of the beginning of peeling the layers. I think sometimes time reveals why that thing. And to me, a bat it's something that flies blind. It doesn't see. It operates by listening, by clairaudience, as opposed to clairvoyance, being able to hear, have an acute sense of hearing. And and the idea, I was just talking to somebody coincidentally right before talking to you about
or is it
about the whole notion of leap and build your wings as you go, and the notion of flying blind. And well, I don't know if we want to talk about anything having to do with Trump at all. I don't know where you're at on that.
Well.
But I'll just say this, because I feel like this kind of goes with anybody. I wrote a piece called Trump Mares. Like if you've got Trump mares, nightmares about Trump, or nightmares inspired by the election. So even if you're a Trump supporter, like I'm not, I'm out, I'm kind of out of the closet like I've never been before. But for people that love Trump, this can also be a Trump mare for them as well, because there's so many people opposed to him, and they might feel like the minority in some circles. People are feeling split down the middle. But I was talking about how in a nightmare, and I'm kind of going off on a tangent here, but I'll circle it back, I promise. To me, I always look at what's if there's a shadow character in a dream, because I've had many Trump mares, nightmares about Trump, or dreams that are unpleasant that feature Trump. And I always think, well, what's the blessing in that person? What's the gift that they're trying to give you? They're an aspect of yourself that you're rejecting, you're ignoring, you're pushing away. And I realized that what I don't like about Trump is really a virtuous quality, but it's turned up, from my perspective, 10 notches too high, which is what any shadow is really. It's like too much of something that at its root is actually a good thing. So he's super bold. He's bold. he's got balls.
He's
like
fearless.
He's fearless.
Not afraid of anything. Yeah.
Right. He doesn't know. He's like the most unprepared person that goes off half cocked and can stand up. And I'm like, oh my God. And so many, and myself and so many women, especially, but men too, we second guess ourselves constantly. Even like, dear friend of mine is so qualified as a holistic health practitioner. And there's this like trepidatious, well, I'm not sure if I know enough, and I don't want to put myself out there until I know a little bit more. And I'm like, it's time for us to embrace our inner Trump. We can be more bold. We can be more gutsy and, and not take it up 10 notches too high like he has, but there's a gift to be gained from that. And so I was talking about how he just leaps and builds his wings as he goes. And that's my motto. I leap and build my wings as I go. Often I'm flying blind. I call myself Mr. Magoo all the time. So I'm trying to do my best to incorporate and integrate that aspect of him, so I'm not split against myself. So you bringing up the bat and a baby bat, especially a baby bat. Babies are more easy to love, even if, because I don't have a yummy feeling about bats. I have an ooh feeling about them, even though
it was a sick bat. And I normally, I've rescued a lot of animals in my life. I've been an animal rescuer.
Good for you. Good for you. All of my dogs are rescue dogs, by the way.
At the time, I didn't know what to do with him. And so I didn't make the right choice in how to save him. And he got taken by another animal as a result. But so I felt terrible because that was the last thing I would have wanted to happen to him. And at the time I had no memory of having dreamed about it. Because I write it down and then I forget it. And at that point I wasn't reviewing that far back. And so that's the other downside of dreaming that far ahead, is that I'll miss it. And
unless you share about, well, God, I mean, you can't give yourself, we can beat ourselves up about everything if we want to, or we can, look at what we do going forward. And what I think I don't often go back. I talk about I'll share a dream on the day of, and then when I have a dream circle, I'll share about whatever the big dream was that week. But there's a billion dreams that get forgotten about and overlooked because there's, we have a life to live. I have a life to live here. Even if I spent all my time focusing on my nighttime dreams all day long, I would still not get to the bottom of it. It could be so overwhelming. So we can't beat ourselves up as long as we take note going forward what we'll do. And I feel like what you're talking about is the value in going back from time to time and reviewing dreams, like really dedicating a day every once in a while to just going through that. I think that's a beautiful thing.
It's not easy though, I will tell you, especially when you're talking about, 17 years later or 20 years, you're a different person and you were dreaming about different things, or, maybe you had some habits that you've given up that influenced your dreams. And now looking back and going, oh, why didn't you know? Oh, I'm so glad I'm past that phase.
Habits like what?
Well, maybe watching too much junk TV or something that, creeps into your dreams. And so your dreams are populated with celebrities or whatever that, I don't know, it was stuff like that. That was really not, I don't know. They were very reflective in many ways that were, not especially comfortable to go back and look through, but yet, there is evidence of growth now. Good
for you.
So that is a benefit. Definitely. You can, for people, that aren't necessarily super reflective, it could be one way to open that door and start taking a look at where you're at.
Right. Well, I think you bring up another good point. It's, that we do grow and that there is gradual growth, and it's great to be able to mark it. And, from time to time, I'll watch a program that's funny or silly or whatever, but I try to do my best, and I don't do this every night, but I try to do my best to, once that's done, do some reading or some reflecting or some meditating on something that I know is really going to feed my soul. So I don't take what I was just watching directly into bed, unless I really like what I was watching. If I watch something that's got a really beautiful message, then I'll go, let's go dream with that. But I think that's another great teaching point, that our dreams are definitely influenced by what we're watching or eating or thinking about in the day. And if it's TV, then it's not necessarily something that we've created or that we necessarily want. It's just entertainment. But it's also, we can give ourselves a break. We can't, I feel like the path that I'm on is not a strict one. I've done the stringent things, and I find it's better to have some kind of intent that moves us along, because we want to have deeper, juicier, better dreams. But at the same time, we want to live our lives and enjoy ourselves and not be completely stressed out so that we don't even sleep because we've got so much stress about trying to do things so perfectly.
Right. And on that point, if you don't mind, I have two listeners who submitted some questions. Great. And one of them actually goes with what you just said. So okay. I wanted to ask about it if I could. And so this is from Jenna.
Hi, Jenna.
And she has a lot of vivid dreams that sometimes she can remember years later, but she feels a lot of emotions in her dreams. And when she wakes up, she feels that the emotions from the dreams can last for hours, and upsetting dreams can wreak havoc for days. Do you have any advice on that kind of thing that might affect someone?
Yes, I sure do. I have a lot of experience with this personally and professionally. And what I like to say is, you can't heal what you can't feel. So having a strong feeling in the dream is wonderful. It helps us to remember it. It actually, the more of a feeling, emotion that goes with the dream, the easier it is to transfer it from short-term memory to long-term memory. Most people don't remember dreams because there's no feeling attached to it. It's just a mental thing. So it's wonderful on many levels to have a deep feeling that you can remember and work with. But then what do you do with it once you wake up? So to me, our waking lives are important. And I know from there's one big dream that I always reference when it comes to this, just because it was so disturbing for myself that I really found myself unable to function the next day. And so I had to practice on myself what I preach. And what it is what I did was pay attention to the feeling and recognize where it's coming from. Like, what does it feel like in waking life? What is it? So I got to write in my journal about the feeling, and it was actually a feeling of terror and being so scared for my life. And there wasn't any specific place that I could pin it on in waking life, although it felt like it was any anxiety that I feel in waking life turned up 100 notches. So it just made me feel like this was my dream trying to bring me into awareness about this maybe low-grade anxiety, turning it up so that I could see it and it was in front of me and I could do something with it. But in terms of the feeling, so it was like, nice, okay, I can pin it to something in my waking life that needs to be addressed. Thank you very much. But that's not enough to make the feeling dissipate so that I can function. So what I always do, and what I did was, because I believe that a nightmare is an unfinished dream, it's up to the dreamer to finish the dream. And because it's our dream, and we're co-creating the dream with spirit, with God, with our higher self, whatever you want to call it, or angels, but you are a co-creator of that dream. So I like to skip to the chase and say, okay, well, how could I possibly turn this into a happy dream without completely invalidating what was happening in the dream? But how can I move it forward to the scene where I'm all of a sudden empowered? It's just like any kind of a horror movie. If you stop it midway through, you're going to be traumatized when you walk out of the theater. And the reason we stay and we keep watching is we want to see how it resolves. We want to see how the hero figures out how to fight that nemesis and come out on top. So we get to, in our own dream theater, fast forward to that scene where we become empowered. So I did that. I played the scene forward, and I can tell you what I did if you want me to get specific about it. But in general, I had to get really creative, because at first I didn't see any way out. At first I thought, nope, this one is the exception to the rule. There's nothing good that can ever happen in this dream. It was just bad. But I thought, but I don't preach that. I have to practice what I preach. So Kelly, keep looking at it. Maybe there's some way. And I finally just zoomed way out, away. I imagined that the dream got really small, and I got way far away. And from a sky high perspective, I could see things that I couldn't see when I was inside the dream. And that helped me get some kind of sense of my power. And then from there, I was able to actually, the simple thing is that there was a scary character in my dream that was going around murdering everyone, and I was next. And what I saw from far away was that everyone that had been murdered had an umbilical cord that went all the way up to spirit. And even though they were murdered, they were still connected and they were fine. But I saw that the person doing the murdering was disconnected. His cord had been cut. And I thought, oh, that's interesting. I wonder if that has something to do with why he's acting so horribly. So because it was my dream, I thought, well, I'm going to reconnect his cord. So it's like I plugged him in, like zoop, zoop, bam. And I saw the electricity kind of go through and find him on earth. And all of a sudden it was like he convulsed and shook around. And then he like finally came to, like, and then he was a totally different person. He was like the awake version of himself. It was like he had been sleepwalking, even though it was my dream. He was in a stupor. He was like a zombie that was just crazily going after people because he didn't have his own source. He didn't have his own connection. So with his own connection, he was no longer scary. I no longer had to hide. It wasn't good enough for me to just build a strong wall against that guy so I knew he couldn't get me, because still I would know he was out there. I had to fix him. I had to transform him, that part of myself. This is the part that's hard to swallow. It's like, how is he me? I'm not like that. I don't kill people. But I thought, oh my God, I have really hurt people in the past, unconsciously, unaware that I was hurting anybody. I never would hurt anybody on purpose, but I know there's people who I have really hurt when I have not been present. And I thought, wow. And where have I also been trying to get energy when I felt like my cord was disconnected? Whoo, so what a healing that was. Wow. I mean, I felt like the Roto-Rooter, because I felt like the end scene of that dream was actually very empowering. Everyone in the dream who had been hurt was okay. And the person who was doing the hurting was no longer at large, no longer out there. And I felt like I had learned a valuable lesson about myself, that I needed to up my game in terms of me being awake and noticing if I'm having an adverse effect on people around me, to clean it up as quickly as possible and have that be a reminder for me to plug in and get back into my own meditation and not just keep running over anybody. So to answer your friend, your listener in a long way, finish your dream, go back inside the dream and ask yourself, what would give me peace? What would give me closure? What would give me back my power? If I could direct this movie/dream, what would I do? Get really creative with it and know that it's not enough to just be okay for now. Like a lot of people say when there's a nemesis, well, I just want to get rid of him. I just want to go away. I just want him gone. Or I just want to make sure I can close the door and get a really big lock so that he can't come in. And I always say, that's not good enough on my watch, because he's still out there and it's going to come back around in the side door. And tomorrow night when you dream, it's going to happen again. And this time it's going to get worse. So you've got to heal that part, because it's a part of yourself. And then know that once you land on that place where you feel good and you feel empowered, meditate on that feeling and let that be a new energy that leads you through your day. And then be grateful for that dream for happening. Don't be scared of your dreams. Your dreams are your ally. They're not out to hurt you. Your subconscious, unconscious isn't there to torture you. Your dreams are always in service of your health, your healing, your enlightenment, your well-being. And so just be so grateful for those scary or unpleasant dreams, because if you transform them, whoo, you wake up.
Yes. Well, I have one more from
Great.
Patrick Keller, who runs a big seance podcast, and he is an awesome para nerd. And he had an interesting apocalypse dream that dark rolling clouds of fire, smoke, and earth were consuming everything in its path, heading straight towards him and the school that he works at. So he was curious if you would have any comments on something like that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, to me, looking at dreams symbolically, I mean, looking at them literally, yeah, sometimes there are tsunamis, and there are 9/11s, and there are earthquakes, and there are sometimes these kind of dreams can predict some kind of a disaster. And even if that's the case, our dreams are our ally, because they're helping us to be prepared should something that horrible happen. But however, most of the time I look at our dreams symbolically, and I look at our dreams from the perspective of how are they giving us a gift. To me, sometimes, disaster dreams are not the worst thing, because sometimes things need to break down. Sometimes old structures need to fall apart before they can come back together in a new way. So an apocalyptic dream, this is a big one. This isn't just a little windstorm blowing through. This is like a radical, let's just burn down the house and start over.
Right.
So I would say, what part of me is not stable, isn't going to hold up, is unsustainable, and it's time for it to go. Because what if the new structure, the new thing that's on the other side of this is 1,000 times better, and I will never get to it if I'm doing it in incremental baby steps. So, and I revisited A Course in Miracles, which I love, and I love the saying, and I just talked about this on Facebook Live this morning, that this quote is, that which is real cannot be threatened. That which is unreal does not exist. And therein lies the peace of God. So it's that which is real cannot be threatened. That which is unreal does not exist. So we're talking about,
yes.
So to me, that is the peace. Like, so anything that could be destroyed, let it rip, let it go, because it's not real anyway. And if you're attached to it, then time to grieve, time to mourn, so that we become, like, I think if he's a para nerd, and I would say I'm a member of that club too.
Kind of have to be.
I would say that in this day and age, it's so important for us to be more in relationship with what is real, with a capital R, what cannot be destroyed. And that is where our strength lies. And that's where our work is. So we can be a beacon of reassurance for all the people that come to us that are terrified when it looks like the blank is hitting the fan, that hell is, like, life is going to hell in a handbasket. We can say, no, there's some things that you can't touch. You can't touch this, like MC Hammer. Woo! There's some things that are just rock solid. And those are really, I've had a death experience, and I know that the love isn't only constant, but it gets bigger. And the sense of connectedness, that's real, and that can't get blown away in an apocalypse or in a tsunami. So wouldn't it be great to be more in relationship with those things than all the other things of this earth that are really temporary anyway? So I think it's about having a 2.0 relationship with how we live in this world, but not of it. So thank you, Patrick.
Very good. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh goodness. Okay. I know you touched on your near-death experience. Have you ever shared what happened with that, or is it?
I'm writing about it right now, actually, in a new book that will hopefully be coming out within, I don't know when. My agent just got a hold of it, so we'll see who buys it. But I really hope it does, because I haven't written about it. I mean, I talk about it. Because I think it's interesting how any conversation about dreams tends to bump up against a conversation about death and the other side, because dreams really are an other side phenomenon. Yes. And there's so much in common with dreaming and being on the other side. So they really are kind of two sides of the same coin. And I have talked about it, but I don't know that I've ever anywhere downloaded the whole thing. So that's why I decided to write about it in this new book. It's kind of a compilation of short stories of like crazy, wild things that have happened to me and the insights that I gained from them. Not just about dreams, but it all seems to have a little bit of a dream tie-in in some way. But I'm happy to, share anything that you want to know or whatever. I'm open. I'm a wide open book. Sometimes too open. TMI.
So I think I've had a near-death experience in sleep.
Oh, wow.
Nothing to do, no injury, no sickness, just found myself leaving my body, going up and up and up, surrounded by, things got more white and more white as I went up, and I was just by myself, surrounded by whiteness. And I got to a certain place and I heard a male voice say, "What is your name and why are you here?" And I couldn't see anyone, and I turned to the voice and I said my name, and I said, "I would like help with clairvoyance." And then boom, I was right back in my bed. So I was like sent to the back of the line, basically, or something.
No, do you feel like you got help with clairvoyance after that dream? Did you get?
I don't. I didn't notice anything different, but anyway, so it was like, what was that?
Well, maybe you're just clairaudient because you heard that voice. So maybe like clairvoyance isn't your thing as much as clairaudience. Just like that little bat, the little baby bat.
Yeah, I have had other experiences of hearing spirit. They would wake me up at night in Okinawa. Dead soldiers over there would wake me up. It was a really interesting experience. So it's all in my book, Sleeping with Spirit. But
I love that title, by the way. That is great.
I'm actually writing a screenplay right now about it. So anyway,
good girl. Oh my God. That sounds really good. That's a really great title, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you. Mm-hmm. Well, now, in my massive dream review that I had to do on all of those journals, over 2,000 pages, I discovered some kind of surprising things that I really haven't heard other people talk about. Well, because I'm the dream orphan, and so I haven't talked to enough people, but I really was curious if you have encountered or heard of this where, and you have a book related to this, I had the strangest dream. Well, I feel like a lot of times people don't even know, where you dream something that seems like almost incoherent, or it doesn't make sense, or some really odd elements were thrown together that seem like, why would those things be together? And I've discovered multiple times with my dreams that have come true that they can be stacked. You can have multiple events merged into one storyline, and so the different elements are literally from different events, but they were so far out ahead, like 9 years ahead, but in that 9-year time period they happened like within days of each other, and yet they were smashed into one storyline. And so I was curious, have you heard of that before?
Oh my God, absolutely. And you nailed it. And it makes me think about the movie that was nominated for all these Academy Awards, The Arrival. Did you see that movie with Amy
Yes,
Adams?
yes,
So
yes.
in that movie, so if anybody's watching this or listening to this and you haven't seen it, pause right now, go see the movie, because I don't want to
Well,
spoil it for you, because right
okay.
now I'm going to spoil it for you. So you've been warned.
Yes.
It's like what those aliens do with their communication. It's like every little thing is layered, like you said, stacked
Yes.
with infinite information. It's like all in a Boolean cube and one little zibble, one little like,
Yeah.
and if we were, to me, I cried, I sobbed at the end of that movie. Like I couldn't leave the theater. I was so grateful because I felt like the energy of that was the energy of human 2.0, like how we can communicate. If we were really operating on a higher level, we would just say one word, or we might not even need to speak at all. We could just have a look or have a one thing that says everything, and we receive it and we get it, as opposed to the analog version, which is
Right.
like, and here's one word that connects with another word and this word, and then, oh my God, it's exhausting. But,
Right.
but in a symbol, like even one symbol is packed with information. I mean, even just the little baby bat to me is like so many things all in that. And that wasn't it wasn't a dream. You did have it was a dream, and then the real life thing.
It happens, yes.
Right. And so it's like, I mean, there's in the red car out in front. There's layers on layers inside of every one symbol. I mean, it could make us crazy, but there is. I mean, I don't think any of it's random.
Some people would think we already are, but
well, you know what? But I love.
Out.
Actually, I interviewed Michael Meade once, and he was talking about the old English word weird. Weird comes from Old English, and it used to be spelled WYRD. And what it meant was someone who stands with one foot in the other world and one foot in this world.
Oh.
So I think we're weird in a really good way.
Yes.
Because we're here and we're there and we're the bridge for all of those things. And what that does, even if we can't track exactly what every single stack of it all means, it elevates us and it puts us in a field where we become more receptive and more aware and more easily compassionate and understanding, and we're not having to be so clunky. I think most of our problems, like they say that pain is mandatory, suffering is optional. We do have moments of pain, and there's no getting out of that in this, but we don't have to live that way. The suffering is often a result of us vibrating at a low level, and we keep bumping into the same things, or we're resisting things, or we don't like it, or we're But when we're attuning ourselves to these dreams and the multi layers of the dreams, I feel like even if we don't know where to put it all, it elevates us and it puts us on a higher plane where all of a sudden we're communicating differently. And even if it's not clairvoyant or clairaudient, we're clair something. We're clair. We're clair, the clair version of ourselves.
Yes.
I mean, clair is just the word it's clarity, and that, to me, at the very least, we get that. So I don't even know that we have to understand what the whole dream is telling us, but even just being in a conversation like this, vibrationally, I mean, I know I don't feel one single ache or pain in my body right now. And before it was like, oh, my lower back hurts and oh, my leg is stiff, but not anymore, because we're like, there's something healing just about this. And we can transmit that.
Yes. Because there's it's like there's a repressed truth that, we've been living it, and yet, we haven't been able to like fully, carry it around with us all day, every day, out in public with all of, our other friends and acquaintances. It's like, well, can I talk about this with them?
I think it's
and
time
so I think
that we
there's
do.
part of that sort of, when you do get a chance to talk with someone who gets it, and then it's like,
I love, what I love, going back to that 12-step thing about attraction, not promotion. I love it when people just ask me and they don't even know who I am. They're like, what do you do? Like, because you seem like happy, like what? And from that place, there's an invitation to talk about dreams, or to talk about like, oh, I'm known as Dr. Dream. What do you mean, Dr. Dream? What kind of dreams? And that, and they're like, wow. So she's happy and she dreams. So it's like so I think we just need to walk our talk. We just need to, in Joseph Campbell's work about the hero's journey, it's all about the hero's trials and tribulations to get the elixir, and then to at some point bring the elixir home to the ordinary world. So in some way,
yes,
sharing this with, and sharing the dream juice that we have access to, the journey isn't complete when we have it for ourselves. The journey is complete when we figure out how to share it with others. And you're doing that. You
yes.
wrote your book, you're doing your podcast, and you're sharing about this. So that's all you got to do. And at some point, I think we become the elixir. So we don't even have to write a book or write a blog or do a podcast. I mean, I write books, I do podcasts, I'm doing all those things. But at some point, I think we're just going to beam so much that all we have to do is just like go shopping and be like, and people want to know what we're drinking or what we're eating or what we're doing. And then we get to share. So there's, I think the days of being a dream orphan are numbered. So, because you glow. I mean,
cheers to that.
I'll drink to that. Yeah. Become the elixir. We don't have to proselytize it. I don't like that. I don't like having to convert anybody who doesn't want to be converted. If somebody's interested, I'm so happy to talk for hours on end with them. But if somebody thinks, that's ridiculous, I'm like, great. Well, then focus on what you're interested in and have a nice day and leave me alone.
Yes.
Or not. Or, I don't know. It's part of my dream too. There's a resistant part of me that shows up that I think is reflected in these people, because sometimes there's a part of me that can be cynical about this stuff too. So I embrace that part. I feel like the game is about embracing every dream character and everybody that shows up in this dream that we call our life, getting so big. My mantra for the new year is my charge is to enlarge. Oh. Not my butt, not my hips, not my thighs, but my heart. So there's room.
Well, that sounds like a good place for us
put a pin in that.
But yes, let's.
Don't think about my butt getting large. Think about my heart getting large.
Our hearts.
Our
yes,
hearts.
Our hearts.
Not our butts.
No. Well, thank you so much. This has really been fantastic. It's just been so much fun. I could talk with you for days.
Dream sister from another mister. Don't be an orphan anymore. You found your sister.
Yes,
so you're no longer an orphan. Those days are actually not numbered. They're over.
They're over. Yeah. They're over. So I'm sure that's an acronym for something.
Yes, it is. It is. And I'm not even going to go there because that'll be a whole other TED Talk. A whole other thing.
Yes. So, gosh, it's bittersweet because I know I could really, ask you so many other things, but I want to respect your time too. So, so thank you so much, Kelly.
You're so welcome.
And
thank you, Kim.
I look forward to seeing your next book that comes out. Do you have a title yet?
I do, but I think I'm going to keep it under my hat until it's already in, but it's a fun title and I can't wait. I'll share it with you once I'm at liberty to share. It's going to be a fun one.
What website would you like people to find you at?
The best website is kellysullivanwalden.com. And if that's too hard to spell, you can go to ihadthestrangestdream.com.
Oh.
And you can also find everything out about me there. On Facebook, you can find me at Kelly Sullivan Walden Dr. Dream. And Dr. is spelled all the way out. DOCTOR Dream. And then Twitter and Instagram, it's Kelly S. Walden. And if people want to find out about Dream Life Coach training and get a free 15-minute inquiries session, they can go to dreamlifecoachtraining.com.
Cool.
Cool.
Very cool. Okay.
Sweet dreams.
Sweet dreams.
Until the next time. Don't take your dreams lying down.